You won an what you call that award?
Best youth-owned
business of the year. You see, here we don't play games. We bring you people that are really blowing.
So what I would say to anyone once you start something is it starts with you. Before I can believe in what you're telling me, you need to first believe in what you're telling me.
Exactly.
So
welcome to the next thing that's gonna blow up. And in this podcast, we sit down with some of the most influential people that are shaping different fields and industry, so that we understand some of the challenges that they are facing through, the struggles that they are overcoming, so that we can learn practical things. That is what we are all about here. We want your guys, after listening to this podcast, you can go with the reality, not the fake things that you all glamour and whatever. Nah, we want you to see the real thing. So today, I'm sitting down with Mr. Sifiso Maseko, the owner of Africa Brand House. Is that correct? That's the correct one. Yeah. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Sifiso.
Thank you, Mr. Kazai. Thank you for having me.
Nice. You won an what you call that award?
Best youth-owned
business of the year. You see, here we don't play games. We bring you people that are really blowing up. But Mr. Sifiso, we just want to understand the journey, before being the best entrepreneur, because it didn't just start today or yesterday or when you won the award. There's so many things that you have done, and in particular, I'm interested to know what started the passion. Where did it start?
First of all, thank you for having me in today's episode of the next thing that's going to blow up. And yes, of course, my name is Sifiso Maseko. I'm the founder of Africa Brand House. Getting back to a question, how it started.
Exactly.
It started way back. I can't even recall some of the things, but I'm someone who, from growing up, I grew up as someone who's been independent.
Right.
I started being independent from a very young age.
Okay.
If I can recall very well, I started working when I was, I think, 16.
16.
Still doing high school. So from there, I used to, on weekends, do some piece jobs here and there to be able to buy myself uniform, shoes, But fast forward, I think the real journey started when I got to Mbabane after I finished my high school.
When you finished your high school?
Yeah, I finished my high school in 2011.
All right.
It's senior high school. So after that, I had passionate in architecture,
All right.
So I worked, as soon as I finished my high school, with the passionate, I used to do drawings. I was good on drawing, design, just draw from visualizing.
All right.
Such that people think something that I studied, but it's something that
you had not studied it at that point.
I haven't studied.
It's quite interesting. But let me take you back a little bit. You mentioned something that really sparked my curiosity. You started working, you said, when you were 16. Was it circumstances or was it passion that drove you to working?
At first, it was circumstances. All right. But as as I grew up, I started getting to enjoy that, because back in the days, as a young person, being able to afford yourselves whatever you want, money that you own, you haven't asked from parents. I think it was life-changing circumstance.
It's quite interesting. And your parents were there at that period?
Yeah, my parents were there. Although my mom and dad, they had separated, so I was living on my dad's side. But the issue was with many of us, so they couldn't
you were many kids.
Yeah. So I was not the oldest, but the midly older. Yeah. So I had to stand up and do something for myself.
Okay.
So that really,
in hindsight, would you say that it was that environment where you are a lot of kids and you just said you're a middle older? I'm just reading in between the lines there. Would you say that was what drove you, or that drove that fire? To say it's funny because there's a podcast. I'm gonna link it right there. But I was sitting with Vuyo Kumalo. She's a money coach. Very, very interesting. So she was one of my favorite podcasts, by the way. Please go watch that if you have not. So she was trying to break down how our financial or our relationship with finances come from. And from her perspective, which I really agree with, is from how we were raised as kids. So now I'm just trying to see if there was a similar scenario where the way you were brought up drove that passion in you to say, now I have to work hard. Was it maybe, if you can actually give examples of, maybe circumstances that you were put into when you were growing up that were like, now I want to push?
I would say circumstances, as much as passion later played a role.
All right.
Because, being in a family where you see your friends at school, other kids, their parents are able to afford them whatever they want.
Exactly.
Here you can't even afford lunch at school.
Yeah,
so, that was, I think, the thing that really drove me to say, I want to be like all the other kids. I want to be able to afford myself whatever I want. Despite that my parents can afford it for me, but I should make means to be able to afford myself whatever I want.
I see. It's quite interesting, It's quite interesting how our experiences as kids really shape
the future.
Yeah, the future of who we are today. If we were to really break down some of those things, they're really, really interesting. But anyway, let's now come to your starting Local Inc. That was your first after. Wait, was it after university or was it during university?
It was Local Inc. was after. It was between university and, because I've just lamented, I started working before I went to university.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh.
So after school, I went straight to the industry. I worked there for 5 years.
All right.
Before I went to university. So most of my entrepreneurial skill, I would say, I got them prior to university.
Oh, prior to university. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting. And then, what was the motivation behind Local Inc?
Local Inc. Had a vision. I wanted to run one of the biggest brands locally. What I had in mind was I've sat down, look at the biggest brands, Nike, Adidas, Auction Culture, which is one of the biggest brands that were, hyped by then. So I sat down and said, all these brands you see on the streets are brands that are not ours, I was like, what if I'll sit down and create something for the local people? That even if they go up there, they still pride themselves and say, I'm wearing this, this is local.
This is Swazi.
This is Swazi, this is my culture. This is owned by brother, someone. Because that's where the pride is, knowing the person who's okay. I'm wearing local. I know who creates it. So I felt like the pride of that would come from having something that is done locally. And I think that's linked to Superstar.
That linked to Superstar?
Yeah, locally.
Oh, that was the connection between the two.
I think back in the days, I was a crazy thinker,
Oh, you were a crazy thinker?
I overanalyze things.
Yeah.
And say, I'd watch these things, fashion shows, TVs, look at billboards, advertisements of Adidas, all these Edgar shops, and like, what if this was a local person doing this thing? So I came with Local Inc.
Okay.
Later came back then it was the time when models were the thing. Most people were like doing modeling, brands, But when I started, it wasn't that clustered. What made me to pull back on local because there was a lot of influx of brands. And they were somehow compromising the standard of what I do. So I felt like, they're messing up the whole concept. So you just hold back a bit and see what they do, before I'm also associated with all the mess that was happening.
I see. That's quite interesting. There's especially here in Swaziland, there's what do you call it? There's a feeling around the industry that local companies or like big companies that are local don't partner with local models. Like for example, I can't name drop here. I'll be sued before this podcast goes anyway. Yeah. But we have got local shops that don't use local models.
Exactly. Actually, me coming to Pasana, I wanted to break that gap.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the industry is something else.
Yeah. What do you mean by something else?
They still don't trust the locals.
Okay.
I think also is an issue of government. Government is not doing enough to protect us as local art. For instance, I'll make an example. I approached your church, I approached your Edgar's, I approached your Mr. Price, selling them the same concept, But only to find that if you want to penetrate that market, you need to be, it favors South Africans. Okay. Because they'll tell you go to Cape Town, where the shooting of models and whatnot is happening. So us here, we've got nothing to do.
Yeah.
Yet if the thing was to say, if the government say, you know what, Jet, you are coming to eat our economy, you're coming to consume our people. So what are you bringing for our young people? What are you bringing for the Swazi art? Then it would have been easy because this guy would be like, oh, okay, you've got local models. It's good. We have an obligation to give a certain percentage of what we are bringing to the local. Then it would have been easier, but it was very tense. But I tried and until I was like, it's not happening.
It actually never worked?
Never. I think the only shop I worked with was Contemporary.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
I think, it was the only shop that somehow opened their hands, but not fully. Because,
But I think that's a huge, because I've been there. I work with a lot of creatives out there and, trying to knock. For example, going to Cape Town is not feasible for someone here. And they say cover your own transport too. Like
imagine
you went your own salary.
And to be honest, the industry of modeling, if I may say, or art, maybe now it's only when it's getting that recognition. Otherwise, back then it was something that something that was undermined.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not something everyone was taking serious.
Exactly.
So even if no matter how effort you try to put into that, but financially it would not make financial sense.
Yeah, it is not make financial sense.
Because it means whatever you're doing, just doing for fun.
Yeah, I think
to fund it on your own. And when I was running the modeling agency, I was not only running models.
All right.
It was a group of collective of young people.
Okay.
There was artists. I was artist that was managing.
Okay.
It was models. It was dancers. It was painters. Basically, it was just a house of art.
Okay.
So if I may remember, I had a team of more than 40.
40 people that were under you.
Young people were under me.
Yeah.
So imagine having to take those people to Cape Town. Just a shot. Whether you're going to make it or not. So it was
quite hectic. But it's interesting. I'm curious to know also how was the reaction from the family when you are coming from, you said you're a sport osini, now you're trying to run a fashion thing. And there's usually this conflict between culture and art, where it's seen as if you are being wayward and now you're running all these. I'm assuming there's a lot of girls that now you
are dealing
with.
I'd say it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But it was a passion. Because you see, when you've got something, to me it was more of a calling. You know, even today, I still feel that, you know, I still have a responsibility for young people, the young arts, the youth, you know. So it wasn't easy. I was doing that as much as when I was doing it, I was already independent.
Okay.
I was already moved out.
All from your family.
Yeah. But there was this kind of criticism. People come and say, "Hey, you deal with girls, whatnot," you know. Even at church, because one incident that happened is it happened at church that really it really hit me hard.
Yeah, what happened? What did they do to you?
You know what actually happened is, as I said, I was managing different talents. Yeah. So back then, my church, there used to be these youth concerts that used to happen. So they'd seen my dancers performing in another church, worship center. So they like that, you know, when people, they feel like things are happening around them, but they still not being part of what you are doing, you know. Then it was a bit of, they wanted to associate, but, you know, they still had that side.
Those reservations,
you know, still reserved. So there was this youth night happening in my church, and they invited us, you know. Initially, they were supposed to pay us for that performance. So we showed up, you know. In the middle of the performance, they cut us.
Oh, they got you.
Yeah, I'm like, then I'm behind the camera. The church was someone who was also helping carrying the service and whatever was happening. So in the middle of the performance, they just cut us.
Oh, like they switch off the lights?
Yeah. No, they switched off the sound. And, you know, I was confused. I didn't know what was happening. Maybe
something is wrong with the sound.
Power supply tripped. Maybe, you know, I had a lot of things, but only to find that it was boycotting, you know. So, yeah, those are the things you learn the hard way sometimes. So, after that, you know, they sort of didn't like the way my dancers were dressed and danced, you know. So, like, okay. So from there, but the strange thing was, before the performance started, they would call us and say, okay, performers, they must come, they must sit. So, what was strange is the dancers, they saw how they dressed before they could actually
go on
stage, you know. So they had all the time to say, "Hey, we are at church," even if they come to me because you know I'm a key. So they'd come and say, "You know what? We don't like the way your dancers are dressed, you know." But surprisingly, they let the other dancers perform anyhow they dressed. And they waited for me too.
I can imagine the drama, which makes me wonder, how did you manage to balance your work and your spirituality? Which I feel like it's a big conflict that creatives have. You know, there's this. It's funny, you know, this podcast, we're having this whole conversation. Please, I'm just gonna be linking so many descriptions. I mean, links to the other episode. That, you know, there's this idea of you know, beliefs being an illusion to life. Like the way you believe things is like just an illusion of whatever. You have not experimented with it. Now I'm just curious to know, how do you balance the two now? Your beliefs and these girls, for example, the way they are dressed.
I think to me it was more passion. So whatever the people were seeing, to me it was just things that they are imagining. Me, I was not there. It was the passion that dream. I had a vision of what I wanted to achieve through this dream.
Okay.
You know, And my belief, I'm a very spiritual person. And as much as I don't like, I know when I'm alone, I pray to God for everything that I do. I ask God before I engage. You know, so I think that's another thing that protects me in everything, in every endeavor that I take. So I knew that this is something I asked God for, and I believed He was gonna make a way. So me getting to church, I was like, okay, God now is leading me His way. I was surprised now when this happened.
So that God is leading you in the wrong direction.
So but anyway, lesson to learn. Sometimes you need to know and understand that whatever you perceive in life, whatever you have as your vision is not someone's vision. You know, what you see is not what the next person will see or think about what you do. Because one thing I'll make for an example, you know, honestly, I felt like I was a little demon.
Oh, you felt that you had some demon?
Yeah, literally to an extent that I left the church.
All right.
Yeah, I left from that day onwards. I've never been. Because this thing really hit at me hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because it was something I felt like, you know, church. If I'm a church and I'm doing something that is wrong, there's a way, there's an approach to come and say, my child, this is not how it's done. If you can do it this way. In church is where you are taught, not where you are broken. You know? So it really like...
They broke you, like...
They broke me even spiritually.
Yeah.
Such that I had to like try and understand this thing. I had to stop going to church for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Trying to digest this thing.
What really happened? Where was I wrong?
Where was I wrong? Because here I'm trying to play my part as a young person. I'm trying also to make a living. Have something.
Exactly.
But now this thing happens. I'm like, okay. First thing, you're at church. You know, at church it's another place that really hurts people.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because I'll make for an example. We've got doctors. We've got doctors that they do a lot of things. They operate you. They, you know, pregnant women if they're giving birth. You know, all those things. You know, but they only look at this angle to say, this is demonic. This is. They forget that it's almost as the same career as the doctor. Me having models and so I visualize it the same way. To say, you know, if a doctor is dealing with, if a male doctor can go and help a woman to give birth, then you know what's the difference from what I'm doing?
Exactly.
So you know, great stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine. What made you? Have you found your way back to
the church,
or just to church in general?
Yeah, I'm in church currently. Although it took me like forever, because after that, the way I was so broken. Was like, you know what? I'd go to church, but I don't want to get to church and get comfortable. I just want to go to church to praise God and I don't want to associate, you know. I don't want people to get used to me.
Exactly.
I just go for what I'm coming and
I don't know. Maybe I'm like that because when I go to church, I'm going in and out.
Exactly. I feel like it's safer the truth. I think the most critical part is when they get comfortable. Then they are used to you. I feel like they can now direct you, they can lecture you how to live. You know? So that way then becomes an issue.
Yeah, no, okay.
Yet if I just come to church, I'm a visitor, I'm able to be treated like everyone at church. I'm able to hear the word of God as is, undiluted. Unlike when now they know it's you. Then things they tend to, you know, get different, you know.
I see. Anyway, you mentioned earlier about building the biggest brand with local ink, and then you transition to Super Sun. what were the lessons that you learned? Because I meet a lot of creatives, designers, one sitting right in this studio, trying to build this big brand. What challenges did you face in building Local Ink into a big brand that you can share right now?
I think first of all, one of the major challenges that I encountered was the lack of resources available or availability of resources. Because like what I mentioned, that in my vision, I wanted to run one of the biggest brands, more like your Nike, Adidas, and all that. But these brands are built from large scale production, available raw materials, they're getting cheap and all that. Yet us here at home, I think it's a different approach, if I may say, because most of the time you buy already finished raw material products. So it's rare where I come and say I want to tailor something from raw material, because sometimes what makes a product unique is having that unique ingredient, something that is not
only yours,
there will only be associated with you. But here at home, we only import finished products. And, also, you find that by the time they come here, the price is already high. So by the time you get in and say, okay, I want to start something, you need to your prices will be really high because your raw material is also high. So it sort of become a hindrance in terms of competition because if you want to compete with someone who is getting raw material cheap and you are only getting it 5 times higher than
doesn't make sense. So in other words, it is not viable. Is that what you're saying?
Somehow, it is viable. I can't say it's not viable. It is viable, but the chances of competing with big brands, there are a lot of issues in between, that put you at a disadvantage than them. So even if you say you want to compete direct with them, it's impossible. Because you're almost at the end of the process. Then they're at point A, you are at W. So,
point W.
It's impossible. I think it's possible. I can't say because I felt it's not possible. We now, technology has put us at a better place, if I may say, to say if maybe I want something, you've got access. Things now you can access them online. If you want raw material, you can just go on Google and you find cheaper suppliers. So it's unlike back then.
Actually, it's very interesting. And then you started Africa Brand House. That was 2020. Is that correct?
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Very interesting period, because when I was looking at it, that is COVID-19 period.
Exactly.
How did you start? People closed down during COVID-19, and you were starting in COVID-19.
Man, when I say most of the things I do, it's not things I do for myself. It's things that I believe God opened my eyes and say, this is what I want for you, my son. Because the interesting part about me starting Africa Brand House, I was working before. I was working in the same industry as doing branding. I was the marketing. So what really happened, as much as I had the vision of Africa Brand House when I was there. So I was in the process of leaving the company. So unfortunately or fortunately, when COVID came, I was one of the highest paid in the business. So I was retrenched because the company felt they're spending more money than me. So from there, I felt like, this is the time for me to start Africa Brand House. because I was comfortable. You know, when you're working, getting salary, like, if I stop working, how will I survive? You know? So it was a comfort for me. But as soon as COVID came, it was a blessing in disguise because I never saw any other opportunity for me to start except for that period of COVID-19. And hence, in 2020, that's where I started Africa Brand House.
Quite interesting.
Like you say, people were closing.
Yeah, people were closing. Time. Exactly. How did you manage to charter the waters, the COVID-19 pandemic?
It was quite tense, I won't lie, because with the fact that even working on its own, like even if it was open, it was still gonna be a challenge. But now it was more of a frustration because you were not allowed to be seen outside. You were not allowed to go and knock, go to visit businesses. So I think how it started was I already had like some clientele that I had. So inside the house where I was close to COVID-19, I get some projects from people or I do approach some organizations and people online. So at first I create online content because that is where most of the businesses were moving.
Every time someone says that on this podcast, I feel dumb because I was not thinking about it. And what's her name? Dorcas was talking about it. During COVID, she spent most of her time also marketing a business online.
It was quite interesting and painful at the same time because during COVID, you're not allowed to go out. And at the same time, the landlords, the bills are still there, and being someone who was used to getting a salary and all of a sudden there's no salary. So for me, basically it was then Africa Brand House started during COVID. I think one booster for me was where I was staying, there was a construction site happened just a neighbor, just the road between where I was staying. So I saw these guys working in the project, like I used to do architecture. So I was like, okay, I'm sitting in the house, what am I doing? Let me just go there and, just help these guys with, whatever they want me to help, So I went there, I was like, hey guys, I'm just in the house, I'm looking for something I can do, So at first they're like, we don't have work here, but you can just help around, carry whatever you're carrying, So I was like, okay, cool. Because I think another thing that helped me was I'm someone who I don't have that thing saying, I'm educated, I can't do it.
I've got a degree.
If I see something and I understand every situation that I'm in, to say, now the situation I'm in needs me to lower myself and humble myself if I have to. And if I have to ask you to rent because I needed that particular thing, I shouldn't pride myself and say, what do people say when I say to this? So it helped me. Surprisingly, when I got there, I found that these guys, they were building without a plan. So when I got there, I say, guys, you are building, but where is the plan? He said, we don't have a plan. And surprisingly, that place was under city council. So city council, you don't build without a plan.
Exactly,
So I was like, I can help you with a plan. Like, a plan? You a plan? Like, I did architecture. They didn't believe me. And they decided to give me the job. To say, okay, go ahead, do the designs. I did the designs, I brought them. They're like, you did this? Like, this is me. So they took the plan to the municipality and it got approved. Surprise. Then I said, guys, give me my money.
I've worked,
I've worked. So, I think that's another thing that you have to learn from. To say, sometimes your opportunities.
You have to go out.
You may look at them and undermine them, only to find that your success lies in that.
Exactly.
So this, for me, I think is also another valuable insight, if I may say, and helped in the building of Africa Brand House. Because there, I think I charged like 15 grand.
All right. For the plan?
Yeah, for the plan. Yeah. So from there, I was able to pay my rent. Yeah, so imagine, this is something I was doing from the house. It's nothing, it was only my time. The computer, which I already have. The program as well, I already had on the computer. So the only time to go out was when I was going to print. So it really helped me. It's part of the money that I started Africa Brand House, registrations, because it was really tough. Every money, the funny thing is, even if you had the money, sometimes you would starve with money in the house. Shops would close.
Yeah, exactly. You got
no food in the streets, so it was quite a tight period.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that money, the way I envisioned Africa Brand House was breathtaking. I saw it as a big business. Such that the reason I named it Africa Brand House is because in my vision, I wanted to build a brand that will not only serve Swaziland.
I see.
I wanted to create a big brand that will go as far as overseas.
Yeah, I see.
Africa, to be specific. So I didn't only want to serve Swaziland. That's how crazy I was. So I was like, let me just, but the big, I think, the big thing around it is because I wanted to solve problems. I had identified problems from my previous employer where I was working, so I wanted to solve those issues. So I felt like, what? Africa needs this. Africa needs this. Because I was looking at this, when you are dealing with the client, they tell you this is what I want, and you can't give them.
Exactly.
And sometimes they even pay for that service or solution, but you can't.
Yeah, you can deliver.
So I felt like, these people are crazy, man. I can do this. The client is already committed, and so why am I not giving them? So it was more of that.
It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. You started with 15K during COVID, and today it's one of the biggest brands in Mbabane, like no doubt. When it comes to branding material.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting.
It's one of the. I'm very.
And it's only 3 years. And we're subtracting COVID.
Yeah, COVID, because it was 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
So those 2 years.
Exactly. And you were building.
Yeah, I was building. I think another thing that really helped me is, when you've got passion for something, you ignore everything and you just focus on that one thing. So I think also that helped me to say, it was a do or die for me, to be honest.
Exactly.
I had no other option to trip on this. I had to make sure that this thing works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. When did you start getting employees? Was it during that period as well?
Okay, first, I think employees, I think I got them, started having employees a year and a half back.
Okay, that is 2021?
Yeah, somewhere around 2021.
That's still COVID. How did you do it?
It was God's plan.
Yeah.
Some of the things most people they ask me, I can't really answer because they came as a surprise even to myself. Man, how is this thing happening?
Exactly.
Because it's not like I sit down and say, this is what I'm going to do. They just happen fast. These things still happen. It's still happening.
It's still happening today.
You see things happening. You're like, God,
how is this possible? Yeah.
How is this happening? It also gets to be a surprise.
I see.
To myself. But it's God's plan, man.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, man. It's quite interesting because, bro, in COVID-19. You're building this business and then you are employing people. And today I saw you launched African brand house, the corporate side.
Yeah, now that's why I'm saying God's work working miraculous way, because the business is moving very fast.
Yeah, it is very fast.
Before you know it, it'll be like international.
Yeah,
you know. Actually, I've been in SA.
Okay.
I was trying to launch Africa Brand House SA.
Okay.
It's a company that is already registered in South Africa, but I hit a few challenges with that, so I had to step back a bit.
Right.
I realized that this wasn't office. I still need to build a team that can run it, even whether I'm there or not. So at the moment, it's quite reliant on me. So when I was in SA, trying to push in SA, it was suffering.
Okay.
Yeah. So I decided to say, instead of me losing everything, I rather run Swaziland because it's the one which was doing quite well. So
yeah, it's quite interesting. You know, when we are as entrepreneurs, we're trying to transition to being bigger. Now, setting up a system that can function without you, I think that's the goal. That's the gold mine. Yeah, where you can put people in place, and you know that whether you are there or not.
Yeah, I think at the moment, one thing or one of the challenges that I'm having is that finding a system. System that would say even if you are
not around,
the system still works as if you are there.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I think it's not only a challenge with Africa Brand House, but I think with most small businesses.
Yeah, exactly. Most small businesses. And I feel like that is where we must focus on. You just reminded me, one of the greatest mentors that I have, like distant mentors. Like, I've never met the guy in person. I only listen to his stuff. And please, if you know this guy, or if you don't know the guy, please go check him out. His name is called Alex Homonizi. I think I'll just type his name somewhere there so that you can see. He's talking about the way, if you are a business and you're trying to grow, how leverage is the biggest thing that you need. Like if you're trying to lift something, you use leverage to lift it. The longer you are, the longer. If this is the thing that you're trying to use to lift something, and then you put a pivot, right?
Yeah.
If your pivot is closer to where you're holding, you're not gonna lift anything. Yeah. But the more you go further from it, and then you have more leverage. So it's like you need to build leverage. So in a practical sense, is the more you have employees that can run things without you being there. That's like, for example, Warren Buffett is taking like 500 million every year from Coca-Cola, but the CEO is taking 50 million. But
that's crazy.
Warren Buffett is not even there at Coca-Cola.
I think that's the level we need to get to as small businesses.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they are the system. I think one critical thing is the system. If you find a system that can do the work when you're not there, or even if you're able to have that pattern to say if someone comes and they know what to do, they're able to follow the A, B, and C's of the business.
What are the challenges that you have faced when trying to build this system? Because I'm sure you have been trying to set that out.
I think it's consistency. People, they come with different attitudes. And it's not easy to tell people what to do. Even if you tell them they're not gonna do the same way that you might want them to do. So I think getting the right people is the biggest challenge.
Alright, I see.
Because some people, you find that you try to sell them the vision, they still have got that undermining attitude to say, you can't tell me this, why to tell me this. So I think most of the time it's that,
getting the right people,
and people who will truly adopt the business as theirs. Because most of the brands that I've built, I've always wanted to have a team, group of people that will treat this as theirs.
Exactly.
Because I believe that whatever I'm doing is not mine, and I can't do it on my own. I need people who adopt the same way as I do, so that they will have this thing, they will have the vision of the business in their heart.
Exactly.
In that case, it will make the work easy to say, even if I'm not there, whether I'm there or not, then they know what to do.
Exactly.
But now, if someone wakes up and say, I'm just going there because I'm going to make salary, at the end of the month, then it will be very difficult because people, when you're not there, they'll sit back. They know their ticket is going.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it becomes a challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
But finding someone who this is my thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to push it. When I push this thing, I am also elevating myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Pushing myself to a better position in life. I think that's the biggest challenge to getting people who will get to that level and understand.
It's quite interesting. And Alex, again, some of the things that he's mentioning is so crazy because those are some of the most important cause of the business. Getting the right people, and sometimes we get lazy as entrepreneurs. You're like, perfect. Today I was actually listening to him, and he's like, some of us, we are afraid to have those tough conversations when an employee is not delivering, but because you are a good person, you don't want to fire them. But the thing is, they are not productive.
They're not productive.
Yeah, they're not helping.
The day is the business has to run. The business has to grow.
Exactly.
Them, the employees, they need to upscale in terms of whatever you're giving them in terms of salary.
Exactly.
They can't be sitting in the same salary. They go in January until December until the next year. And it all lies in the effort they put.
Yeah, exactly.
If they can be able to say, this is our thing. We won't let it fall. We don't want it to lose. We don't want it to lose it in our hands. Then they put the effort. Get better. The business gets bigger. Then they get better rewards. But people, they have got this tendency of sitting back. And if I can make an example of one of the, I think, big challenges I've had a lot of people coming to the company and say, you know what, we are desperate, we need some work, we need some employment. And I look at the person and say, we don't really have employment because I think one of the challenges that we face is we have portrayed our business, the way our business is growing, it has made that image of saying a big business, yet we are still a small growing business, So most people have been coming to and say, we want to work with Africa Brand House, we can see the business is growing, I'm like, we don't have work, but there is only one option that we can only give you a chance in the business, because our business, what I like is about it, it's very broad. It's got a lot of opportunities. But the trick is most people don't want to work. When you tell someone, okay, you're working as a salesperson, for instance, I'll just give you something to cover your cost, maybe, Then the surprising part is they get comfortable in that relationship, such that now they forget why they came, what they have to do. Because I used to say, okay, come, I'll give you something small. Just go do marketing. Bring some business. Whatever business you bring, I'm giving you a percentage. But the person will get so comfortable such that will feel like they won't see the need of going out and marketing. So it becomes a challenge. Now you see, people are like this. They don't want to work. They just want a small piece of the pie. And they rest. They're comfortable. So I think that's one of the challenges
that you're
facing, even with the most young people, because the opportunities are there. Seeing Africa Brand House getting to where it is today is not. If I was one of the lazy people like anyone, I wouldn't be here. But it's because of the pushing beyond the limit. Saying, no matter what, this thing has to happen. So it happens if you put the required effort.
It's quite interesting, man. But before I let you go for today, I want you to, I'm thinking there's probably someone out there who's watching today and they're in the same position where they want to start something. Or they are in the process of starting something and seeing your growth to all the endeavors that you've done with Local Inc., Super Sun, and now Africa Brand House, and the corporate side.
Yeah.
What is one underlying lesson that has driven all these that you can share? Something that's not big and or philosophical and whatever. Something really practical that you can say this. Or maybe it's a couple of things that you can say, this is it.
I think more than anything is discipline.
Okay.
Being in business needs you to be disciplined in a lot of aspects. Financially, character-wise, and the way you handle the small instances, the way you interact with people, it plays a major role in what you want to build. So what I would say to anyone once you start something is it starts with you. Before I can believe in what you're telling me, you need to first believe in what you're telling me.
Exactly.
So that the person listening to you can also have that thing to say, even if it's an idea that I say was this is a lame idea. But if I see that the person means it, I can see it in your face, and I can see even in your attitude, the way you handle things, you see this thing that I don't see. Then there is no way you cannot make it.
All right. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure listening to your story. It's just fascinating, the way you have been handling things. My biggest, blowing up my mind thing here is how you started during COVID-19. Because during that time, I was sleeping. I was sleeping and waiting for the world to open up.
Yeah.
And here you are building this big brand.
So some of us, that time, you couldn't sleep, man. Even if you want, okay, I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
The month is about to end. My landlord is working. So it wasn't easy. You wouldn't even enjoy that sleep.
Yeah.
Even if you want. Because some will be like, okay, it's COVID. All good, we're sleeping. My employer will push something. But when there's nothing, you can't enjoy it. You want the thing that will provoke your mind, push your mind to the limit to say, okay, in this situation, what can I do? Inside my house.
Exactly. What can I do?
I see. Because in most cases, you find that the solutions are just around. You're looking them far away.
Exactly. So thank you very much. Before you leave, just let people know where can they find Africa Brand House.
Good people, Africa Brand House. Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank people that have supported the vision of Africa Brand House. Maybe starting from cause A. I was surprised that you're digging from this one. I think that also draws the line that the patient started a long time ago. Because I think that was 2009. Long.
Exactly.
But if you can, I just want to give you a challenge. If you can just go to my Facebook, just look at where I am today. Then just look at what I did, whatever I posted 2009 going forward, see if it doesn't link. You will see that there is a link.
Yeah, exactly.
And probably something I posted 2009 is only showing up
now
in 2023. So it's God's work.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd want to appreciate everyone that has supported me since I was a nobody.
Exactly.
Because I believe that those are the people that really helped me to get here today. So everyone that has supported my art, the work of my hands, building Super Sun, Local Inc., until Africa Brand, I really, really appreciate those people. They don't know the role they play.
Yeah, they've done exactly.
Some they will feel like, we just do it. The kid was just, But to me, it's small thing.
Exactly.
It really pushed me to where I am. So I really appreciate. And still urge everyone who still want to support the vision. We've got Africa Brand House in Mbabane. We're at St. Louis Street, Crystal House, Office G05. So that's where they can find us. That's in Mbabane. Then we are also at Ezulweni. We are at Bumalanga Road. We are at Remax offices. Just when you pass Ezulweni municipality. Yeah, we're just around there. So you can find us there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also make sure to link the websites as well as the Facebook page so that people can go and look
on Facebook. We are Africa Brand House. Then on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Africa Brand House. Then our website is www.africabrandhouse.com. Yeah.
No, now you know where to find you. And thank you very much for coming through. I really appreciate you also taking. I understand, your busy schedule, but today you came through and you are here with us. And thank you very much for watching. And for me, Kuzam Shambi and Sifiso Maseko, thank you again, and we are out.
Thank you.